this is my orthodontist. She posts on TikTok. Go see her if you want. I kind of said to myself, okay, I need a digital footprint that I can show people and meet people on Instagram that live here and try to make connections that way.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Through the Wire podcast. This is season 2, episode 5. My guest today is Dr. Sable Staller. She is a New York City orthodontist. So if you are interested in hearing about her journey to dental school and then to ortho residency and now working as a New York City orthodontist, stay tuned. We also talk a lot about social media because she has a big following on TikTok. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you so much, Dr. Sable, for coming on this podcast with me. All right. Hello, everyone. Today's guest, Dr. Sable Staller. She's an orthodontist who works in New York City. So I'm so excited to have her on today. Sable, if you can please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your journey into dental school and into orthodontics.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for having me today. So I currently practice in the Upper East Side in Manhattan on 75th and 3rd at East Side Orthodontics. But before all that, I grew up in Indiana, small town, like an hour north of Indianapolis. What kind of got me interested in dentistry was I was in a super small town and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. And my orthodontist was this tall blonde woman that wore high heels and looked really happy. And I was like, I could do this. I'm tall and blonde. And so after I met her and just saw how much she liked her job, that kind of sparked my interest and then went from there. But I played volleyball growing up. So I got a volleyball scholarship to play at the University of Buffalo. So I went there for undergrad. After that, went back to Indiana for dental school and residency to become an orthodontist. And then I always wanted to live in a big city. And so, growing up in the Midwest, it's very like everyone moves to Chicago, and I just wanted to do something different. And I love New York City. So figured out how to make it happen, moved here 3 years ago now. Yeah, a little bit more than 3 years. And then just switched to the job I have now. But I've loved it here. It's been an awesome time.
Oh my goodness, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've achieved so much. So how old were you when you first met this tall, blonde orthodontist that inspired you to pursue ortho? And did you approach her? Does she know this, that she's the one who initially inspired you?
I don't think so. I was kind of shy growing up, but I didn't get my braces till I was in like high school. I'm like begged my parents, but my brother was older and he got braces first and we couldn't like afford them back to back. So I had to like beg my parents. So I finally got them in high school. So I think that actually helped though, because maybe if I had gotten them sooner, I wouldn't have like been as curious, I guess, when I met my orthodontist. But no, she does not know that. She actually moved. She doesn't live in my town anymore. I think she moved to Arizona, but maybe I should tell her and let her know.
It's a little funny thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got interested in high school, you got your braces, you're still interested. And then tell us a little bit about undergrad going into dental school. At the beginning of undergrad, you knew you wanted to become a dentist, so you started getting your prereqs done, you started getting involved, or did you decide later on in undergrad that you wanted to do dental school? How did you like prepare yourself for dental school?
Yeah, I think I kind of went in knowing that I wanted to go to dental school. So I wasn't like necessarily prepared though, right when I went in. Like I didn't understand I needed certain prereqs, as kind of dumb as that may sound, because I think there's just so much you have to know to apply to dental school. And if you've never been around anyone or don't know anyone that's applied, it can be kind of overwhelming. So I just took like general biology, or I was a biology major, so I just took the general prereqs to start. And then I would say like after my freshman year, I was like, okay, I want to be a dentist. I need to figure out like all the classes I need to take, like what all this entails. So that way I was prepared. So I would say after my first year, I really got serious about it, just like making sure I had all my ducks in a row. I didn't really, since I played volleyball, I didn't really have like extra time to join clubs or anything like that. So I really did kind of ride like I was an athlete wave, I feel like, to get into dental school. And just like getting good grades and then making sure I would go to a few professors' office hours that I thought would maybe write me a recommendation when the time came. So I would like pick a class I really liked and go to their office hours so they knew who I was and like talk to them a few times throughout the semester. And I feel like that really helped when it came to like letters of recommendations and stuff like that.
Okay. And then you went to dental school and then got into residency. How was
Yeah.
your experience comparing dental school to residency? How was that experience? Because I know you really enjoyed your time at Indiana.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
was that transition? Or was it easier because you were at the same school?
Yeah. So it was, I feel like, well, dental school and residency are so different to me because I feel like the entire time up until you get into residency, you're just trying to reach a goal. And
Hmm.
like you're not using a lot of the stuff you're learning. I mean, you do somehow, but like it's not all pertinent. Like I don't know how need to know how to necessarily like make a denture like to the 10th degree, but if you're a general dentist, you do. So I think being in residency was easier for me because I was like, oh, like now I'm learning every nitty gritty detail I need to learn, like about what I'm actually going to do and what I work so hard for. Versus dental school, I feel like I was more just focused on like getting the best grades so I can get into
Hmm.
residency. So I thought residency was a lot easier because I was like so happy to be learning everything I needed to know, I guess. But I know other people have said that their residencies are harder than their dental school. So I feel like it really just depends. I do feel like I really wanted to go somewhere else for residency, but then the more I looked, like a lot of schools are 3 years versus 2 years. And like, I really wanted a 2 year program. I didn't want a 3 year program. And then I also, it came down to like a few schools that I really liked. But I'm happy I chose Indiana just because the pandemic happened while I was in residency. So it actually ended up working out because I was able to see my family like a lot more because you couldn't really travel a bunch during that time. So I'm really happy that I stayed. It probably made it easier being in the same school.
So then after graduating from residency, how was applying for your first job as an orthodontist, your first associateship? When did you start applying and looking? And tell us about that process.
Yeah, I definitely waited. So with the 2 year program, you're like very, very busy, which I'm sure you are with a 3 year program as well. But like everything is just crammed in because we do we do our research and see all of our patients in that 2 years. And so I feel like I didn't prepare early enough because I was planning to move to New York, but I didn't apply for my license till like a month before I graduated, which was not a good idea. But I did start looking for jobs this spring. I graduated in July. So, like that spring, I would say it was really easy, or easy is relative, but it was easy for a lot of my friends that were staying in Indiana to find a job just because we had so many connections and you could ask so many professors or people you knew, like, oh, do you know anyone hiring at this clinic but since I was moving, it was a lot harder to break into the dental world, especially in New York City. Like I feel like it's a very tight knit group and like they don't let you in unless you have someone vouching for you kind of thing. So it was hard for me to find a job. I didn't get approved for my dental license until like November. So I graduated in July. The New York dental license is like so frustrating, which I'm sure, I don't know if you've gotten your New York dental license.
I do have one, but I did the
Okay.
GPR and then like I had a year. I basically had a lot of time and I
Okay.
already like had the residency. So it must be
Yeah.
different since you need your residency. I don't know how it works the other way around.
Yeah, like I had to send in my residency, but I think it was also maybe because I'm not from New York, so I had to get like a few different documents. But you have to call to get an update, and like I would call and I would get someone saying something different every time. Anyways, finally got it in November, and so then I'm like, okay, now I can apply and move. And then I ended up I had a mentor who needed some help, so I ended up working there like through the winter in Indiana, and then I moved to New York April of next year. So it really took like 7 months until I started like my real job after residency. So that is one thing I would say, if you have the time in residency, start trying to like network with people of where you think you want to move. So that way there's not as much of a gap. But I basically had to take a job, worked weekends and some days like maybe I didn't want to work, the pay I didn't want to necessarily take just to get a job to move here. And then I figured it out from there, basically.
So when you were looking for a job, you were
Yeah.
just mostly trying to find a job. You weren't trying to find something with mentorship, something with higher pay. You did want the location of New York City. Is there something you were prioritizing, or the first thing is get your feet wet, just get a job, and then use it as a stepping stone for your next
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. So I was trying to kind of do both, where get a job where I don't think I necessarily needed a mentor, because I feel like in school you have so many mentors. So you can almost, you don't need, I don't think that you need one at work. You can easily figure it out and ask questions if you need. So it was more just like the days and the money, and like location. But in New York, it's so saturated and can be so hard to find exactly what you want, especially if you don't know anyone. So I
Hmm.
had to settle on some things like working some Saturdays. And then like I worked 2 days in Long Island. So it wasn't technically all in Manhattan or as close. So that's kind of what I ended up settling on. I will say, like, um, when I talk about, getting my first job, if you make a list of what's most important to you to like least important, then it's a lot easier to kind of negotiate with your employer or who the job you're thinking about taking, because you can just be like, okay, well, I definitely want this, so I could do this, something lower on your list that you don't care about as much. And you can kind of give and take that way. But if you don't go in with a plan or like things that are really important to you about your job versus things that aren't, because we're all different, we all have different ideas of what we find important, then it can be a little bit harder when you're trying to negotiate.
So then after your Indiana job, you moved to New York City, and then
Yeah.
I noticed you got a different job.
Yeah.
So was this your new job? Is that like your dream job that you've like imagined, or what was the reason for switching jobs?
I would say the job I have now is like my dream job, just meaning like it's at one location, it's in Manhattan, the patients are awesome, the people I work with are awesome. I feel like I'm getting paid what I paid my worth. Yeah, I feel like the other job, it was multiple locations and a few other things. So this new job also like really values like my social media and kind of like working together to build that up, but also get new patients, which I really like. And I'm also the only doctor, which I'm very excited about, because when you're in some larger clinics that have multiple doctors, sometimes it can be harder to give patients like the best care, because maybe let's see the other doctor sees them, or it's a doctor you don't really work with that will be filling in, that will kind of change up what you're doing, and then it just slows down the treatment time. So it's
Hmm.
nice to be in the clinic almost by myself for that reason.
Yeah, I can see that. This past year, I worked as a general dentist and I worked as
Yeah.
a solo doctor.
Mhm.
Although I wouldn't recommend it to a new general dentist because I feel like there's so much
Yeah.
I could learn. But I totally understand that the patients would also think that it was my practice. It really wasn't, but
Yeah.
they were like congratulating me and they like knew that I was caring for them. I don't know, it was just a different feeling. In regards to your new job, do you have to network with the dentists around you to find patients similar to like other orthodontists, or does the owner orthodontist do most of the networking with the other dentists to gain patients? Or are you the owner orthodontist? That part
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
Yeah. No, I'm not the owner. It's kind of a mix of both, but I will say, like, I'm incentivized to go out and meet dentists because it's going to help me like get more patients.
Yeah,
So I definitely, when I started, it's in a clinic with a pediatric office. So they are giving me patients already, which is nice. The only issue with that is no other pediatric dentist will refer to you,
mm,
because like if a pediatric dentist sends their patient to an ortho office that has a pediatric clinic, usually they don't go back to them because it's all right there.
I see.
So I got a list of dentists that they've already been working with. So I went out and met all of them and just joined like a study club. So I have been networking a lot, which has actually been great because I feel like I've made some friends and I don't mind doing it. And I usually go while I'm at work. If we have like a lull in the day, we have like 30 minutes or an hour, I'll just grab bagels or something and then go walk to a clinic nearby and introduce myself. But I would say it's a mix, but maybe I'm doing like 70% of the networking right now. But also I'm newer there, so I'm really just trying to get my name out.
Yes, I've heard that for orthodontists, one of the hardest things is getting referrals or like getting your name out there because you need referrals. So it's good that you're doing that. For
Yeah.
your previous jobs, how was the referral process there? Did you feel like you had to go out and put your name out there and get referrals from these dentists, or were the patients just coming in because there was other doctors there and the reputation from before?
Yeah, I think a little bit like just the reputation and the clinic had been there for so long, but also like insurance wise, a lot of patients would just find us through insurance, through their insurance or through like ZocDoc. But I didn't do like any networking or anything like that. I also didn't really have as much time. Like I would see 80 to 90 patients a day. I didn't really have, and I worked in three different locations. So it almost left no time for me to really go do that
Hmm.
unless I were to like go on my off day and do that. Versus this job, I'm seeing maybe 30 to 40 a day. And so it leaves a little bit more room for me in the morning to go meet people. And it's also one location. So it's a little bit easier to do that. But no, I didn't do any networking. It was more insurance based, I would say.
Would you say 30 to 40 is like a sweet spot of patients, or what's,
Yeah.
yeah, what's the like the goal of a patient? Like how many patients would you like to see in a day? Or do you not think that the amount of patients you see in a day really matters? Like, do you think like finishing them within a certain amount of time matters more? How do you view that?
Yeah, no, I feel like everyone has a different opinion on this. I think I love between 30 and 40. I think 40 a day is great. A lot of factors go into that though. If you can sustain that, like your overhead, how many people you have working for you. Some doctors see 100 patients a day and it's so easy because their assistants are so, well trained and can basically do everything for them, know exactly what they're going to do. So I think that also plays into it too. But I think 40 is great. I do think it definitely makes, I'd rather finish my patients early or on time. But I also am not one to see, some people will see patients every 4 weeks and then their schedule will be slammed with 90 to 100 patients. I'm not one, I like to see patients a little bit more spread out. And I also think it leaves a little bit more room in your schedule to work on marketing or to spend more time with your patients, just getting to know them. So I do think seeing the patients a little bit more spread out actually helps with the treatment and how your business runs, I would say.
Okay. So now let's switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about social media.
Okay.
So, when did you first get into social media? Like, did you just randomly start TikTok? Did you just randomly do it? And then how has this helped you? Because I know this has helped you like get some patients in the door. Was this the reason why you started it, or was this just a nice outcome that came from it?
Yeah. So I started in 2020. It was the pandemic, and I started to see like the dentist pop up.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I was still in residency. So I was like, can I post about this? Because I don't fully know everything yet. But then I was like, no, I'm already a dentist and I'm learning all of this stuff now. I don't have to post about things I haven't learned yet. But my boyfriend is a physical therapist and he started doing it because he was worried he wouldn't really have a job because you couldn't really see anyone in
Mm.
person. So he started doing it and I was like, well, I'll start posting. So that's kind of why it started. And then I would say when I went back to school, I took a little bit of a break. I don't think it was necessarily like well received at my residency. So I kind of took a break, which I wish I did not do because if I had just kept posting a ton during that time from home, not I was never posting at school, then I would have probably blown up more. But that's what got me started. And then ever since I've been posting, I will say when I moved to New York City, I was like, it's so expensive here. I need to post more out of necessity almost to figure out how to make money. But then also, like I said, I didn't really know a lot of people. And so I kind of said to myself, okay, I need a digital footprint that I can show people and meet people on Instagram that live here and try to make connections that way. And so those were kind of the two main reasons, money. And then since I wasn't from New York City, just creating a presence that I could show people my personality and hopefully like network and make friends.
That's awesome. Those are great reasons. So,
Yeah.
did you start earning money from social media pretty quickly?
I mean 2020, 2021 were like a different time on TikTok, I would say. It was like the
Hmm.
Wild West. My first brand deal was from Soka's toothbrush, I believe. And no, that's not, don't call me. It was a different brand, but they paid me like $100 to make a video, and I was like, I have made it. This is great. Uh, and then you couldn't make money on the app at that time yet. Like the app wasn't paying people yet. So I didn't make any money from that at that time. I would say it really started to grow when I moved to New York. So in 2022 ish, I started to figure out how to really monetize. And then since then, I've really like doubled and created like an extra income through it.
Okay, so most of the income is from sponsorships or like brand deals, not from like the app itself.
I would say, yeah. So probably a third of the money is from the TikTok Creator Fund. And that's just if you post a video over 1 minute, you can make money on it. So a lot of my videos are over 1 minute, and that's honestly the reason why. Is I'll explain something or do a stitch with the video and just make sure I hit that mark. So I would say a third of the money is from that, and then the other 2/3 are from like brand deals from brands. Yeah.
Okay. And then when did your patients start seeing your videos, or do your patients see your videos? And how has, like, have you gotten patients from these videos?
Yeah. I don't remember when it started. Probably when I started my job, like patients started to see them right away because they would pop up. And then I definitely have gotten patients from TikTok. I feel like I always say this. I feel like maybe they've changed their stance, but a lot of like marketing companies will tell you you can't get patients from TikTok or like it's not helpful. But it really is like if you post on there and you show patients like how you would treat them or your philosophies and they find you and they feel comfortable, like they will come see you. I would say last year is where I really started to track it. And I probably had like 50 people come in, and maybe like I think at least half of them start, which I would say is good. Um, and then I've already had some people from my office come in from TikTok. I try to just get it out there and let people know because I do think it is a fun thing for people to know, or they can show people, hey, this is my orthodontist. She posts on TikTok. Go see her if you want. So I try to just get ahead of it and tell everyone at this point.
Very smart thing to do. Okay. So, congrats on your TikTok. Congrats on all your jobs. How is it like
Thank
working in
you.
New York City? And it seems like this has been your dream city to work in, coming from
Yeah.
Indiana. What are
Yeah.
your favorite parts about it? What do you maybe not like so much about it? Do you plan to stay there for a long time?
Yeah. No, I love working here. Yeah, it was like my dream to work here. So I do think coming from the Midwest, people can be very not passive aggressive. They don't love being like as like straightforward. You kind of have to like work around it to tell people certain things, which in ortho that can be kind of confusing. And if you do that to someone that lives in New York City, they're going to be like, what are you doing? So I think that has been fun for me, just learning like how to communicate more efficiently almost, and just be like, all right, here's the problem, this is what we're going to do, and they're like, great. It's like that's been fun to kind of change how I communicate almost because it was a little bit of a learning curve. And then everyone in New York is so nice. Everyone has such a like a backstory about their life, or like just so interesting. And also the teenagers and kids are so not grown up is not the right word, but I mean they live in New York City, and so they just live such a different life than a lot of other like kids get to live. And so it's just fun to chat with them and like learn from them almost and see what their life is like, which is cool.
That is cool. I'm
Yeah.
from California, so I can relate to that communication thing because I came to New
Yes.
York and people do communicate a little bit differently.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I ever go back to Indiana, these people are gonna be like, this is harsh girl. But uh,
Yeah.
No, one of my assistants I used to work with, she was like, I feel like you've perfected the perfect New York communication with like the Midwest vibe of like really nice. And she's like, it's really working for you, I think. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great. So, but yeah, I do think I'll stay in New York for a long time. We'll see, but I really like it.
Um, okay. Well, we're gonna wrap up. So
Okay.
for the last thing, since I'm starting residency soon and a lot of
Yes.
other people are gonna start residency soon, if you can go back, what advice would you tell yourself if you're just starting residency? What advice do you have for the incoming ortho residents?
Okay. I would say don't be too hard on yourself because I feel like ortho doesn't really click until one day it does. So don't be, if you're not understanding something or it doesn't make sense, just keep going. You'll wake up one day and it will all make sense. At least that's how I was and all my co-residents were. And then I would say just ask your professors everything you can because they're all so different. They all treat so differently and one's not better than the other, but just trying to like take little bits and pieces from each one that you can use in the real world is very helpful. And then also just if you're interested in social media and you're already doing this, so it's great. You have a podcast, so that's so cool. Just creating some sort of presence online because I know it really wasn't that important 10, 20 years ago, but it's a lot different now. And if you're trying, to practice in New York or the LA or San Diego area or anywhere that's really saturated, it really is important, if anything, just to network and to show your patients kind of your personality, give them like a little bit of a glimpse because that really can help you, whether it's getting a job or more patients. So just developing some sort of online presence doesn't mean you have to post every day, but just something you can show people that you can take with you wherever you go. If you switch jobs, if you move, you can always take that with you, which I think is very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sable. It was great to have you on.
Yeah. Thank you for having me and good luck with residency. It's going to be fun.